name is Toni. I'm about to be interviewed by James Boland, the Australian Community. I am so excited to talk about my life, my dreams, my love, my camp, all these new things I'm creating, and I want to say thank you. Thank you to all the people that have supported me, thank you to all the people that have believed in me, and thank you to all the people that are on this journey with me. I am obsessed with sharing light and love, and knowing that if we all are just like tiny bit committed about learning about ourselves, the whole world around us can change. And if we all do that together, imagine how powerful that would be. So hold your horses and get ready. We're about to go on a little journey together. Thank you, James, for having me today. My name is Toni Short, and I am so excited today to be talking to James Boland from the Australian Community. We are going to talk about my journey, my life, my path in work, love, creative, all the things that have made me who I am today, and the excitement I have around my upcoming new company and the camp, and my goal to raise the consciousness of the world through starting with myself. I learned about myself after going through some pretty funky things, some things that I brought on myself and some things that were just a wake-up call, if one could say that. And it's been amazing. Learning about yourself is incredibly freeing and incredibly beautiful and incredibly powerful. And I am bringing to life this camp, the camp that I made for myself when I went through my breakdown. I created this adults camp to heal, it was really following breadcrumbs. I think I explain it now as the maybe the older narrator in my life, but at the time I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was following breadcrumbs, and I went to all different creative things and started to sort of heal and talk about things and express them and get all of this pain and sadness and things out of me. And that just kept leading me to new things about myself, how I behave, what I do, why I do things, patterns, beliefs. And as I looked at those individually under the microscope, every single little piece, I really started to see how I could take that apart and actually pick and choose the things that were really serving me and the things that weren't. A lot of them were stuff that I had learned through my family and society that I really didn't need. And I'm really excited to be able to share that journey today and talk a little bit about the camp, and to spread the message that we all have a choice, and there's a choice that love is the answer. And no matter what you're talking about, what you're going through, love is the answer, and finding that way to love within yourself so that you can be where you need to be is the magic. And it's unlimited, and tapping in is pretty incredible. So here we go. I'm excited to talk to James today. Thank you for being with us, and I'm very excited. Thank you. I want to say thank you to everybody for being with me on this journey to help me find myself and to stand in my own light and stand in my own power. It's very special. Thank you. James, you ready for us? Waiting for the host to start this meeting. I think I'm going to go without lipstick, just me, natural. Waiting. Pixie tap.
Tony.
James, how are you?
Good. You're vertical right now?
Yeah, whatever you need. I'm set and ready. I wasn't sure which way you locked it in. We're gonna go
Oh, no
like
problem.
that.
There you go. That looks much better.
And then we're gonna take the How do you like the frame?
That's great.
Great.
Okay, so we're just recording at the moment. We just
Great.
check, yeah.
Yeah.
We're recording at the moment, so all this will just be edited out.
Great.
So that's really straightforward for that.
Yeah.
I'm just getting rid of some of these screens so my glasses don't flare up as much. That's much better. Do I sound okay?
Yeah, you sound great. It's clear. Same with me. I'm using my phone because you're going to get a much better internet connection.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's nice and clear.
Great.
Just get rid of this. It's all about the frame, right?
Yeah, baby. It's our moment. Do you want to center this thing in the back? Is that feel
No,
alright?
that's fine.
Good?
No, you're good. You look great.
Great.
Okay, so just talking here for a second.
Great.
With these interviews, the standard we do is, where you're born and raised in Australia. What did you do before coming to the US? What brought you here?
Yes.
And then we'll lead into, what it is that you're doing now as a pivot from what you were doing before.
Great.
The goal of these recordings, I'm doing one with Nick Stone on Friday,
Great.
is to talk about how businesses are coping, with the current COVID situation and how they're gearing up for what they believe is in the new economy.
Yes.
Is this something that's just going to be gone in a few months, or are we looking at something that's a few years out? How do our businesses go? As how our businesses will survive and thrive in that new economy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what these interviews are about. Now, a little bit about your business. Obviously, before you were doing event management, that kind of work, was it?
Yes.
How would you describe it?
Yes, a creative and event production company doing global events, mostly in the entertainment, fashion, media, music kind of industries.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just so I've got that, because I'll say, look, tell me something about your event management business
Yep.
pre-COVID-19
Yeah.
and what it is you're doing now post-COVID-19.
Great.
And how difficult or how challenging was that pivot? That'll be kind of the leading question, so you can talk about it,
Great.
and then you can talk about the transition of what you're doing now.
Yeah.
And then the final question is, what advice do you give to other businesses, or what advice would you give to another business who is considering plan B, C, and D?
Yeah.
So that's where kind of the thought leadership ties into that.
Great.
Around what are our thoughts in terms of businesses.
Understood.
So that's it, but before we get into that, let's kind of just relax a bit. How long have you been in the States?
I've been here nearly 10 years. And then
okay.
DC 5 years before that, 7 in London, and Australia before that. So I've been gone for a long time.
Yeah, I've been here, this is my 24th year, I think.
Yeah.
25 years, it's kind of hard to imagine.
Yeah.
I've been here that long.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I can't even imagine going back, whatever that looks like, and...
Well, there may not be an option to go back very shortly, which is kind of interesting with what's happening in Australia at the moment.
Right, yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, a friend of mine, he had his family to like North Dakota or somewhere.
Okay.
And they had to change planes at Chicago, and that's where he caught COVID. So he got to this sort of bug out place, and he was sick for 3 weeks there with COVID. So, trying to escape it can be the process of actually catching it. So
it's interesting. I've been looking at the same thing. A friend of mine, her brother died, and she wants me to go help in California to sort of do some.
Wow.
And I think I'm in the place I'm not sure I want to go. I'm like, I can support you from here, but that doesn't feel.
Well, I attended an event in early March, and of the 100 people that were there, a lot of the people I knew and knew other people, about 30 of them caught COVID that night.
Right.
In a restaurant.
Yeah.
So this thing is airborne. No one seems to be wanting to really discuss it, but it is airborne.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
In a close any kind of confined space where someone who's just breathing can catch it. So that's why it's spreading so quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But enough about that.
Okay. One thing I wanted to just quickly flag, what I'm going to talk about is the new business that I'm launching and the camp, and that's launching on the 27th of July. So I know you said editing and things, but if we can talk about timing that up in some way, so what I'm talking about would be live in the internet world, blah blah blah. We can talk about that too.
Sure.
So
sure.
that'll.
And the other thing too is The great thing about it is editing is that if you can sort of go, hang on a second, and you want to take a breath and then start again, that's great because it's just, cut that out. It's really easy.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it doesn't have to be so like, I am a robot speaking to you.
I don't know how anyone can do podcasts because I see these guys, they do the YouTubes and they're so, really on, and then they do a live one, it's like, and they're doing this, but in their cuts, it's like, really quick cuts.
Yeah, the beauty of editing.
It can be very forgiving, editing.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to do a quick introduction.
Okay.
I'll probably do a couple of those, and then we'll lead into you. Again,
great.
No pressure on these things. It's probably about edited down to 15 minutes. It'll take us like half an hour, 45 minutes to do it. So
sounds good.
Plenty of time.
Yes. 1 second. Where are you at home?
I'm sorry.
Hey, hang on. Are you at home?
No, I'm in the office. This is
a
green screen behind me.
Oh, is it? That's so cool. I love it. Super
No,
art.
it's not actually. This is my home.
Oh, that's funny. I was like, it's so cool with all the art. I was actually thinking at one point, I was like, maybe I'll set you up behind my, in front with all that behind. But I was like, it's probably a little bit too distracting. But,
amazing with a red and a blue light. Anything looks great.
Yeah, I love it.
Lighting is key.
Yes. Okay, dokie.
All right. Okay, so just smile during this. I'm going to do the introduction.
Yeah.
Okay, I do my little thing. Welcome. My name is James Boland. I am the president and founder of the Australian Community. And today we're talking to Toni Short. Toni is an Australian entrepreneur in New York. Toni will be speaking about her business pre-COVID, her pivot and transition to a new business post-COVID, and her thoughts on what the new economy may or may not look like post-COVID-19. So Toni, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here, James.
Toni, as we always do with these interviews, quick round of questions. Where were you born and raised in Australia?
Absolutely. I was born in Adelaide, grew up in Perth, and then actually I left London for London, 1999, in my early 20s. Spent 7 years in London, 5 in DC, and now nearly 10 in New York. So I've been gone for a long time.
And what did you do in Australia before leaving for this world trip?
Yeah,
in New York.
I started in marketing and public relations was my degree, and I worked for these incredibly, looking back, affluent bachelor kind of guys that owned these 3 sort of big pubs and clubs that were in the area. So I was sort of an office manager doing everything from the stock take to the wages to the marketing, and sort of a little bit of what led into my sort of next life, but on a very sort of basic sort of early stages. So it was a great introduction into working life while I was studying and all of the things I was getting into.
Okay, we'll do that again.
Yeah.
And that's probably my fault because I made it too general.
Okay.
So Toni, tell us what you did just before arriving in New York.
Got it. When I left Australia in 1999, I went to London and started working at the BBC, working my way through different sort of departments. I worked in drama series, executive office, and then worked in BBC Technology, which was a new commercial arm of the BBC, looking after all of their events. So based in London, but working globally through big trade shows, a lot of stuff in the broadcast world. Then from London, I moved to DC, and I actually shifted into a small sort of bootstrapping boutique.
Can I stop you there because that's my next question?
Great.
So,
yep, go.
And Toni, what brought you to New York?
After London, I moved to DC and started working for an events agency. And again, based in DC, I was doing stuff all over the world. I did a lot of public events and on the National Mall. I was also involved in some of Obama's inauguration type things. A lot of exposure to, again, another sort of side of the world, including congressional and things like that.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your event management business that you're running here in New York.
Sure. I started working at the BBC as the global event director for North and South America, and I just felt like I wanted to do more. I wanted to work for more brands, and so 2015 I left BBC and started my own business and worked in fashion, entertainment, media, music, doing sort of events again around the world for different brands, everything from Comic-Con to trade shows to showcases, red carpets, screenings. Pretty much anything out there, I've done it, been there, seen it. It was amazing.
And with COVID-19 arriving, in the spring of 2020, clearly that had a huge impact on your business. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. March, April, May, June was pretty much packed with 3 or 4 big events, different things all over the country, and they all came to an immediate halt. Everyone was sort of looking at what that looked like, how they could do it, or whether or not they could do it, and most of them postponed to 2021 at this point.
Okay, now you've, like many businesses, you've had to pivot. Can you talk a little bit about that transition and some of the challenges that you've been facing during that?
Sure. I always felt that I wanted to move out of the logistics, and there was something brewing for me as I was doing these sort of events back in that past life to really talk about the energetics of how people interact, and where there sort of was blockages. A lot of the time you deal sort of in projects and there's sort of, something's not flowing and things like that. So I started to pivot into that area, into a business, what I'm now coining as the Energy Muse, which I guess you could look at it like a McKinsey in terms of a consultancy-based company working with people from an energetic point of view, really looking at what's working in their business, what's not, and why, and sort of developing those kind of tools for them to really look at their business and what they want to do and where they're going.
Okay, I'm just going to take a sort of, so you've done the pivot, you're in this consultancy business now. What do you feel is important? I mean, what is it that you want to communicate right now that you feel that we haven't quite covered?
Yeah, I feel like COVID has brought this sense of awakening to everybody, in a sense of who they are, what they're doing.
Okay, so deep breath and then go straight into that.
COVID has really brought this great awakening to the world, in terms of people really assessing like who they are, what they're doing, where they want to be, and the jobs that they're doing. And the work that I want to do is really helping people find that and make that pivot into sort of new positions, new companies, and also working with companies to give their staff the tools to feel safe and comfortable from a emotional point of view, not just a physical safety, which is definitely something that people are really looking at now as the world sort of pivots and shifts, but working out how that companies can provide an environment that is emotionally safe and supportive.
Okay, so obviously this has been a huge pivot for you, and I understand that you're launching this company in July, later this month.
Yes, July 27th, we're launching the Energy Muse, along with what I'm coining as the camp, which is a 3-week container really for people to come and join and learn about themselves, maybe look at some different healing modalities, creative expressions. I feel like through the personal work I've been doing through COVID, actually, which really afforded me the time to do that I probably wouldn't have done if I was sort of slammed with all of the other jobs, to really sort of investigate, to actually ask ourselves like what we want to do and why we're doing it, and kind of dig into that journey. So it's a nice summer camp for adults.
Okay. Now, let me just take a thing. Okay, so for someone who has gone through that transition, what advice would you give to someone else who is considering, making a major shift or a major pivot in their career?
Yeah, it's a beautiful question, James. I believe let's follow our hearts. Go for what you love doing. I think if anything, this time has really shown us that if we're not really loving what we're doing, it's going to show up pretty big in our lives and make things uncomfortable. And I think that there's a lot of power in learning who we are and following what you love. And so, that might be a complete career change, or it might be just digging in, studying, upgrading your study, and really sort of applying that across all parts of your life.
Okay. And also, we're going to tie in now is how people get in contact with you. So I'll say.
Sure.
So Toni, how does someone get in contact with you?
The best place.
Let me start that again.
Yeah.
So Toni, how does someone learn more about your offering and how do they contact you?
Absolutely. They can go to tonishort.com or theenergymuse.com and find me there in all different ways.
That's Toni, correct?
You got it, Toni, and short as in a short person.
I think we have to cut that a little bit last.
You got it. Oh, good.
Okay, what else do you want to talk about? Okay, also one of the things that we talk about too is charity.
Mm-hmm.
Non-profit charity. And I'll edit this in.
Yeah. Great.
Is this something that you're doing? Is something you're involved with? Something you're passionate about?
Absolutely.
Okay, well then let me lead in with a question.
Yeah.
Toni, can you tell us a little bit more about some of the charitable initiatives that you're involved with here in New York?
Yeah, absolutely. The concept of giving back became really relevant for me when I went through some personal things and had a chance to see all of the women that had really helped me heal by sharing their gifts. I think anyone that is doing a job that they love and is really into who they are and what they're doing is a gift to the world. And so part of this camp is providing it free for campers so that people that maybe aren't in a position to pay because of COVID can attend and access all of these different sort of experiences to help them, shift their emotional state or feel better about themselves or learn about themselves. And on the back end, I'm using my PPE to pay for the sisters to support. So, the team that are producing it and actually holding the classes will get paid. And that's, my way at this point to give back for all the people that supported me through my journey.
And what's the name of that organization that you support?
It's all part of the camp through the Energy Muse.
Through the what, sorry?
The Energy Muse, it's all part of the camp that I'm hosting.
Fine. Well, I'll edit that bit off on the end then.
Yeah.
So you covered that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've pretty well covered everything.
Great.
Just off, on a side note, you're involved with Toni, is that right?
Yes, I was the co-president of
Tell me a little bit more about that.
Sure. And actually, I think one thing not to be, that we jumped from DC to, we didn't actually talk about going from DC to New York, but I don't know if that's important in terms of the pieces.
Well, no, you were talking about consular stuff. Well, you know what, why don't you talk about that now and I'll just put that in.
Yeah.
By the way, let me just set myself my interest
Welcome
in.
back.
Welcome back.
Yeah, after DC, then I moved to New York to head up events for BBC again, looking after North and South America. So adding on to the work that I'd done in London, but really then extending that, I think, yeah, that didn't really work. I was realized I covered some of the same stuff and then stopped, but I think.
That's all right. I can just, it's funny, I did a lot of conversation stuff and there's some really good pieces in the conversation. I kind of throw those in as well.
Yeah, I love it. Great.
It's taken me a month to get the glare off my glasses in these things.
Yeah,
you actually see my eyes now.
It's a real learning. There's so many pieces to the puzzle.
I've probably spent 20 hours on YouTube, this week alone, just
learning
there's so much information out there and it's all good. It's really good.
The Aquarius, I know. I love it. You want to talk about Toni? Yes. When I came to New York, I joined Toni and became secretary for 1 year and then the co-president for 2 more years after that. It was the most incredible experience being surrounded by such powerful, smart, beautiful, interesting women from all walks of life. And that's been a real joy to actually create a community and really promote those women and support those women in different ways. So that's been a huge part of my journey here in New York and part of the giving back that's been sort of imperative for me to keep my Aussiness close, but at the same time, provide support for us living outside of our own country.
Yeah, look, it's coming up to 10 years now since I started the Australian community.
Yeah.
And that has been quite an amazing journey, from even just 12 months ago, people viewed us as, they're just a little social group and they do this, they do that, and they seem to be doing some cool stuff and that. And then when we raised over $500,000 for the Australian bushfires, kind of people went, oh,
yeah,
wow, they raised $500,000. How did they do that?
Yeah.
And it's kind of those. It takes 10 years to be an overnight success.
Yes.
So we've gained a lot more traction. Not that we didn't have traction amongst our members. I get literally hundreds of emails from people saying thank you
Yeah.
about some of the things that we're doing. But the way I view it is that there's people doing things already.
Yes.
Rather than going out and trying to imitate other people, we look at what's not being done and create new initiatives. And that's kind of been our philosophy, and I suppose that's been our special sauce in a way.
Yeah.
Is that, look for where the gaps are in the need
Yes.
and fill that gap.
Yes.
And and in a way, I suppose protect people from those that would come along. I mean, I believe that everyone has a right to go out and earn a living as a consultant or whatever
Absolutely.
they do.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that Australians should be charged for knowledge to, just survive in this country. Something like that should be on the charitable side of the ledger, not the profit side.
Yes.
It's kind of my philosophy.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's a few people out there trying to monetize the pain of an expat, and I think that's a very uncharitable thing to be doing.
Yes, yes. I think that Australians have, I've seen, for me being in the artistic world, people like Pete Maiden at Convicts, another Kate Lee, one of my co-presidents at Orny, they're doing such incredible things in sort of social justice and, the creative arts and theatre in different ways, that they're bringing the voice of Australia and who we are as a nation, that brings such innovation, fresh ideas, and maybe adaptability, flexibility, and bringing that to life through the lens for America to see it. It's really powerful. There's a lot of beautiful work being done.
Yeah, I've seen some of Pete's productions.
Yeah.
He did one for one of my friends who's an immigration attorney.
Yes.
He takes a very different kind of view and tries to capture more of the personality
Yes.
In these films.
Yeah, very powerful.
But, we've certainly invested into our production side of things. I mean, if I flip this around, I don't have another camera set up I can switch to, but if I had another camera facing back this way, you'd see, lighting, microphones, cameras.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to do a YouTube video. I'm actually going to do my own YouTube video which is a compilation of everyone else's ideas. But it's unique to me.
Yes.
It's not like this is an exact replica. Like, I've got a few ideas from over here and a few ideas from over there, and I've got a 43-inch monitor sort of here.
Yeah.
And I can break that out into different parts. So it's really nice. I've never worked with a monitor this big before, but it's just wonderful because instead of trying to look down at a little 13-inch screen, I've got a 43-inch TV here essentially.
Yeah. I mean, if
I get bored, I can just put the TV on and
switch over. I think this is the beauty of really people being in the light of what they love, like watching your face come alive when you tell me this story. I mean, putting your unique spin on something that isn't reinvention of the wheel. You're not sort of doing something that isn't new, but I think that's what really COVID for me has been about, for people to really tap into what do they love and what do they really get pumped up about, and let's bring that to light. If you think about everybody in the world being connected to who they are and what they do, imagine how powerful the world would be. And I think that's sort of part of my mission of how do we bring that, whether it's through creative or knowledge or charity or on the ground work for those people that are out there in the sort of trenches. There's many places to be a part of this puzzle and a part of this new world, and I think my role feels like how I can maybe reconnect the wires in people so that they can find that light and move towards that themselves, because that's where then other people receive the benefits of that, and financially our families, it's not just a one-way street. It feeds the whole world, and that's really how we need to get more connected. It's very special.
One final question.
Yes.
If you could combine the purchasing power of every Australian in the United States, what would you buy?
Love. More love. Everything could be solved with love.
Well, maybe I should rephrase that.
Yeah.
My love.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you can through how you spend your money, what you do. But go on.
Toni, if you could combine the charitable, Toni, if you could combine the not charitable initiatives,
service is
Yeah,
terrible.
you know,
Like,
someone once said to me, you know, about, I think it was maybe 8 years ago, I think, we had the idea of, we have a lot of data on our members when they travel to Australia and all this, because we get these bounce backs from people's emails. So we really work out when the peaks are people are on vacation.
interesting.
And just a little thing like that.
Yes.
Just like people go, oh, bounce back, you know, delete. But no, hang on, where are they on vacation from? And we're up to, at the time, I think we had around 2,000 members. And I said, wouldn't it be great if we could do a charter of a jumbo jet in August, which was when most people went on vacation, and see if we could do a flight to Australia into Sydney. And we got within, we needed, I think it was 380 people. We got to about 320. And if we had done that, it would have been like so many first class tickets, business, economy, and all the rest. And it would have been just a little bit cheaper than Air Qantas's going rate at the time. I think it was going to cost $3.5 million or something, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But we almost did it. But the problem was that people were traveling in the first half of August and the second half of August. If they'd all traveled like this within a 2-week period, we could have maybe done it. But
That's a great idea.
one of the questions, if you could combine our purchasing power, what would you do? And they said, hire a jumbo and fly to Australia.
I love it. That's amazing. Yeah. I don't know, maybe it's...
Anyway, Tony.
Yeah, go.
No, go on,
I was going to say maybe combining the superpowers or the you know, like something like that. But I feel you.
I ask that because they just give people's read on, you know, what it is that we can really achieve as a nation here in the US.
Yeah.
And I know that raising $500,000 for Australian bushfires is one thing that we're able to do.
Yeah.
It's incredible generosity. Some big donations came in too, really big, which was great.
I actually wrote
there was one little schoolgirl in New Jersey who raised nearly $20,000 by selling T-shirts.
That's amazing.
And it was interesting because we're a 501c3, but we also have a foreign mission policy that covers disasters in Australia. Which obviously when we built our 501c3, we knew that was something we'd probably do at some point because Australia has disasters.
Yes.
And so we had, they called us because they said, look, you know, we've raised this money. If we don't give it to a 501c3 here in the US, we have to pay tax on it.
Right.
But we have to find a 501c3 that also has a foreign mission policy that can donate to Australia, because just because you're a 501c3 doesn't mean you can donate to Australia, because there's a lot of IRS regulations and policies around it. So we had all that.
Wow.
That's how we were able to raise money here and send it to Australia, and people get a tax deduction in the US. So that was a pretty cool thing to do.
Yeah, I actually wrote a song, Firestorm, about the fires. I'll have to share it with you one day. Something I put together, a little music video of just talking about how it's part of this bigger world of, again, you know, losing connection with ourselves, and we all were, you know, a little more tapped in some way, that we find our light, we can all, you know, bring about a better place.
Are you still involved with Toni? You said you were co-president for a while, or?
Yes, I just stepped down this year and to let some new people come through, but we're still very much involved. We've just been doing a 12-week course with the Artist's Way with a small collection of the memberships. So one of the things you said was Toni's been incredible of sort of providing support at some point through people's, you know, Aussie women's journey through New York, and it's been a great sort of way to, you know, provide resources and different things at different times. Yeah.
It's interesting, the statistics on our organisation, we've had approximately 7,000 Australians pass through our organisation. Our current email list is about 3,500.
Right.
We cull people. We actually encourage people to unsubscribe from our email list. I mean, if you move back to Australia, what's the point? If you move to London, what's the point? You know, we're not relevant.
Right.
We shouldn't be someone who's not in the country. But but when we hit about 1,200 members way back when, this one statistic sort of stuck, and that was that 60% of our members are Australian women between 25 and 40. Wow. So we have around just over 2,100 Australian women in our organisation now. We did it was interesting, we did an initiative, I think it was when World Trade opened up, so however many years ago that was. We did a thing called Talk, the Australian Women's Community, and which was great. we had a lot of some of our members came to us and said, look, in fact, one of our directors who was female said, we should start this. And I said, well, is that just a repeat? And they thought it would be something different. And then when we announced it, I had probably the most pushback I've ever received from our members on an initiative. And they said that, I suppose it's different that a lot of our women members are executives, they're CEOs, executive managers and all the rest. And it wasn't so much pushback, but it was, look, James, they said, look, I think it's great that you're doing this, but I don't think that this is something for me because I'm already established. I'm here, I don't, for you to come to me and say, we're here to help is, I won't say it's insulting, but they felt that this isn't something that really resonates with me. I'd rather be a thought leader and give thought leadership to other people, but the thought of you coming to me saying, I'm here to help you, doesn't resonate with me at all. So what we did was, it was interesting.
Yes.
So we shifted that to thought leadership, and we've always, like, for example, our board is 60% women. We try and marry our board members to cover our demographics.
Yeah.
And each board member has an industry that they're a champion for, so we don't just move into a tech org or a marketing org, even though 30% of our members are in marketing and advertising.
Right.
So it's just a really interesting thing. So Toni does all that great stuff, and we think there's no need for us to do anything like that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that, and I think people have met perhaps the fact that we're not engaging with Toni or we're not doing that. It's not because we don't think you're a good organisation. I mean, I'm great friends with John Barry, Coffee and all the rest.
Yes.
It's just that you guys are doing that stuff. You don't need our help.
Yeah.
We don't want to come along and step on any toes or come in and say, hey, how we do this or how we do that. I just think that if there's ever an opportunity to work together, my virtual door is always open to chat.
Yeah, likewise. I think actually there's more collaboration and connection than we think. I've got an idea for the money question. You want to do it again?
Sure. So Toni, final question.
Okay.
If you could combine the purchasing power of every Australian in the United States, what would you buy?
I would reform the education system and work with all the different parties to provide a platform for kids really to learn about themselves and to connect into music and the arts and really support all of those places that really help people express what they're going through, giving them tools so when they get to their older parts of life, even things like COVID is really showing where people are having trouble to sort of work through feelings and work through situations. And I think there's a huge role the education system plays within that could be very beautiful for our next generations, which will be the Australians' children as well. So it's something I think that would be very profound for a lot of people.
Great. I'm actually going to ask that question again. Great answer. You don't have to answer this, but I just thought of something while you were talking.
I love it.
Okay, so here we go. So Toni, final question. If you could combine the charitable contributions of every Australian in the United States, what initiative would you create?
I would reform the education system. Find a way to bring back.
Got it. I got
That's
that.
all you need?
I can edit that back in.
Yeah, got it.
That's perfect.
I love it.
I think that's a better question, actually.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Great chatting.
You
Toni,
too.
If you have any questions, what I'm going to do is, now that we have we reached more than 100 subscribers on YouTube, so it's now youtube.com/c/AU community. That's our YouTube channel now.
Right.
So we're AU community across everything: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and AU community. It's great. So we've got that alias. So what I'm going to do is, we also, because we're at that level, we can set up private videos.
Okay.
So once I've edited all this, I'll put it up in private. I'll share that with you. Have a look, give me your feedback. It's ready to go. I'll then push it out through our social media channels, and I'll mention you. Are we connected on Facebook?
Yes. Actually, I'm not on Facebook. Period.
Okay, fine.
Yep.
But we're connected on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Are you on any other social media platforms?
Instagram and YouTube is mostly around the acting and the creative stuff, so we can look at that if that makes sense.
I'll I'll send you the link, and if you want to share that through whichever channels that you have, you're welcome to do that as well. But we'll make some mentions of you where appropriate.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay.
Thanks for your time.
No worries, thank you. Have a great day.
Bye, James.
Stay safe.
I will.
Stay safe.
Indeed.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
And that's it. James was lovely, and I loved his question about what would I do with all the charitable contributions and money, is really reform the education system so that kids can learn about themselves and really build a toolkit to be able to work through life in a way that, you know, serves them better. Anyway, thank you for coming today.